A traumatic divorce, a loved one's devastating cancer diagnosis, and the tragic loss of a friend. Kamala Harris may be the second most powerful person in America, but she's also encountered a great deal of tragedy throughout her life. Kamala Harris's parents met as students at the University of California, Berkeley in the early 1960s. Her mother, Shyamala Gopalan, was an Indian student working toward a master's degree in nutrition and endocrinology, while her Jamaican-American father, Donald Harris, studied economics. Both would become distinguished in their fields, with Gopalan becoming a cancer researcher and Donald a professor of economics. In their student years, both were heavily involved in the university's Afro-American Association during an important period for Black intellectualism and activism. The influence of Harris's parents in her early years was immense and certainly shaped the career that she would go on to achieve. But sadly, her childhood was shaken by her parents' divorce, which occurred when she was just 7 years old. Donald's professorship meant teaching in various different universities, and his profession soon took a strain on his family. Harris recalled that the relationship between her parents initially soured after their separation, and she was worried that her mother would be unwilling to attend her graduation alongside her father. As Donald became less of a figure in Harris's life, friends of her mother stepped in to help raise her and her sister, as their mother worked long hours. Harris's parents were making great strides in academia at a time of social upheaval when discrimination was rife in many walks of life. Their engagement with civil rights activism reflected their awareness of the social injustice they both experienced as people of color in mid-20th century America. Gopalan came from a prosperous Tamil Brahmin family in India, and though she had gone to college in New Delhi, she had ambitions beyond that which could be supported by women's education in the country at the time. Gender discrimination generally held that Tamilan women lived as homemakers, while work, including work in academia, was reserved for men. Thankfully, Gopalan's own father was unusually progressive and willed her to study in America just as he had done. Gopalan's ambition never left her, and as a cancer researcher, she is credited with having a direct hand in a number of medical breakthroughs which have potentially saved countless lives.
Well, she had two goals in her life: to raise her two daughters and end breast cancer.
However, despite her academic prowess, she came to believe that even academic institutions in the U.S. held her back as a result of discrimination. For that reason, Kamala and her sister, Maya, later relocated to Montreal with their mother, who took on research there. Harris's mother was a formidable matriarch, with her daughters remembering her as a loving but strict parent who had been toughened by the experience of being an Indian woman facing discrimination in American academia. Sadly, Gopalan was not able to witness the heights to which her daughter would ascend in U.S. politics. On February 11, 2009, Gopalan died at 70 of colon cancer. Her death was felt keenly in the field of medicine, with Breast Cancer Action publishing a warm obituary of her, outlining her scientific achievements. At a 2022 event promoting the government's Moonshot initiative to improve cancer research funding, Harris shared what it was like to lose her mother to the illness. She said,
After a lifetime working to end cancer, cancer ended my mother's life. I miss my mother every day.
Harris's relationship with President Joe Biden is well documented. The two shared the Democratic ticket in the 2020 presidential election, successfully ousting former President Donald Trump from the office after just one term. Their campaign material understandably portrayed Biden and Harris as being on the same page politically and on good terms as friends. However, that was not always the case. In fact, Harris's ascension to be Biden's running mate came at the end of a long audition and vetting process. Biden's camp was initially distrustful of the senator due to attacks she had made against him during the Democratic primaries over his lack of support for desegregation policies in the 1970s.
There was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And that little girl was me.
The two were bound together personally, however, through their love of Beau, Biden's son, who was also one of Harris's close friends. Tragically, Beau died in 2015 of brain cancer at the age of 46, a heartbreaking loss for both Biden and Harris. Harris recalled how Beau and she would support each other through difficult moments in their careers. In her 2019 memoir, The Truths We Hold: An American Journey, Harris wrote this about Beau. He was an incredible friend and colleague. There were periods when I was taking heat that Beau and I talked every day, sometimes multiple times a day. We had each other's backs.